Previously on Ups and Downs.
I'm giving it an up. Now, of course, forget to leave below.
Pardon the interruption of your normal WhatCulture ups and downs, Simon Miller. Did you really think I was going to let you continue to run your mouth and you go unpunished? You see the downs? Now they're ups.
Okay, so last week, at the end of Impact Ups and Downs, flipping Sami Callihan hacked his way into my show, and also, look what he did. I'm now going to magically make myself get close to the camera. Look at that, look at that. That's not me wearing nail varnish or painting weird purple things onto the other side of my fingers. Using his weird special magic hacking powers, he broke my fingers, and he did it on my right hand. So look, when I try and use the finger of power, I look like my hand is broken because my hand is basically broken. So now we have to go through the whole show terrified that he's going to turn up again, but I'm a real man. So, you know, I'll be okay. Is he over there? No, I don't think so. Doesn't work like that. He just goes poof and he appears. But hey, we do have an Impact Wrestling pay-per-view on Saturday called Sacrifice, meaning that this episode was the go-home show for that show. So it's time to take in a very broken finger of power that's just looking worse and worse, if I can be completely honest, and give the good bits an up, ow, and the bad bits a down. So yes, as already noted, it is Sacrifice this Saturday, and because on that show we are having a Women's World Tag Team match between the champions, Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, who are taking on the badass team of Jazz and Jordynne Grace. On Impact, we did Jazz versus Tasha Steelz, because you know the deal, it's wrestling and that's just what we do. Steelz was really stupid to start with as well, because she wasn't taking Jazz seriously. Who doesn't take Jazz seriously? When Jazz looks at you, you can see her eyes, she is saying, listen, if you don't get me first, I'm gonna come over there and rip your skull off. Tasha didn't seem to care. And it took being beaten up for a while before Steelz went, oh man, I really should fight back. And of course, at that point, Jazz just shouted fatality, and she ripped the skin off her face. That bit didn't have happened, but again, it's Jazz. You totally believe it. She is a flipping badass. I mean, it is kind of what happened here, just on a much lesser extent, because she was in control for most of it. Then she applied the STF. She won via submission. And of course, that probably means at the pay-per-view, we're not getting a title change. But I actually think we're planting seeds for at some point to go to Jordynne Grace versus Jazz. And I'm happy to see this match. All this story stuff is tying in, as it does later. So I'm giving it up. Because then, yeah, we carried on this feud between about 72 different women as ODB was being interviewed in the back because she is facing Deonna Purrazzo on Saturday for the Knockouts Women's Championship. And then Susan, or Suzanne, whatever the hell we're calling her, arrived. And she was super mad at ODB because ODB never files her paperwork properly, so she challenged her to a match later and she got her wish. It also does seem like that doofus from last week, Sami Callihan, has manipulated one of Trey Miguel's trainees. Because, of course, he had gone to Trey Miguel's school and was just spouting out all this bullshit to people. And one of them, very handily known as Sam, well, he clearly believed it. Because Trey bumped into him backstage here and he was going, man, Trey Miguel, you suck. Sami Callihan's the best. And in fact, I'm so in love with him now, I want to challenge you later to a match. I mean, that would be like you being in school and challenging your maths teacher to like an equation off. I don't even know what that is. At least I don't think you could put it on pay-per-view. Then had a big hype video for our main event at Sacrifice, which of course is for the world title between Rich Swann and Moose. But don't even worry about that, because there's a much bigger announcement coming, and we'll do it in around about 10 minutes. We then kind of had a blow-off match, given that it was the Desi Hit Squad taking on Beer Guns. I think that's what they're called now, because of course, they have been fighting in Johnny Swinger's Casino a lot recently, and they've been doing matches on the Impact pre-show. And here, James Storm, Chris Sabin, Malabali Shera, and Rohit Raju were just having a tag team match. And yeah, it was fine. The problem is that all James Storm wanted to do was fight Shera, and all Shera wanted to do was fight James Storm. So even when they were in the ring with other people, it was like Poochie from The Simpsons. They were going, well, where's Poochie? It's like, if you mean the giant man, he's on the outside, someone better tag him in. And you can just imagine how Rohit Raju felt about that, because he's got the ego the size of a balloon. And while we did get this, James Storm then tagged out to Chris Sabin, and Chris Sabin got his ass kicked. I was like, James, you wanted this. You can't just throw it away. So the layout was kind of weird, but we did get back to James Storm, who ran a very nice hot tag. And then the reason that these guys won is because the stupid Desi Hit Squad fell out. Like, Rohit Raju was yelling at Shearer like, you ruined it, you're the worst, I absolutely hate you. And he didn't see what was going on. He got hit by the cradle shot courtesy of Chris Sabin, who pinned him to the 1-2-3. So that is that. Definitely, because in around about 32 seconds, we got to talk about a backstage skit. Or we'll just do it right now, because that makes far more sense. Basically, later on in the show, Rohit was saying, Shearer, you're a moron. Shearer, I hate you. Shearer, I'm going to push you out of a window. Because Shearer is massive, he just grabbed him and basically chucked him against the wall. So those two are over. I mean, how long did that last? Around about 3 minutes. Impact then did get a little bit messy because it was like, oh man, we've got to set this match up and we've got to set that match up for the pay-per-view. Because basically, Decay approached Reno Scum and Triple XL. We're like, oh man, we're Decay, we're from hell, we're all scary. And Triple XL have already been through this. They're like, you know what, we don't need to have anything to do with you. But Reno Scum were like, yeah, we'll have a fight. So now on Saturday we're getting that match. But then all of a sudden, almost instantly, we were having the same thing with Beer Money because James Storm and Chris Sabin went to Violent by Design and they were like, Eric Young, we don't think you're treating that Cody Deaner very nice. I'm like, dudes, have you talked to Cody Deaner? He seems well into this, even when Joe Doring is beating his ass. Violent by Design then laid them all out, so of course we are going to do that at the pay-per-view as well. And as we also found out later, Jake Something will be in their corner. This all kind of came from nowhere. I think there'll be good matches. Surely we should have given it just a little bit of a more build. And on that very night too, the madness continued because then Brian Myers was backstage with Scott D'Amore, and even though he wants to sue Eddie Edwards or get Eddie Edwards fired from Impact, Scott went, no, I've got a better idea. Let's basically do a no DQ match on Saturday. How do you like that? And Brian's a bit like, all right, I guess that's what I'll do. I was like, man, that is quite the jump from lawsuit firing to sure, let's have a little fighty fight. I mean, why would he agree? If you've already got a lawsuit, why wouldn't you see it through? So yeah, all three of these things, while I actually do think will result in good wrestling contests, are all just so crazy, and they're also last minute, just gotta get it down. The whole Sami Callihan, Trey Miguel feud then continued because we were actually getting Trey Miguel taking on his own trainee known as Sam. And you knew this wasn't going to go well for Sam. How the hell could it? Callihan was out here first too, saying that the only benefit of Trey Miguel training this guy was that now Sami Callihan could take him under his wing and teach him the real way of the world. And then poor Sam, I don't know, must have lasted what, like 57 seconds? And then he tapped out to one of Trey Miguel's crazy obstacle holds. Sami then went nuts because he got in the ring and he gave Sam a power driver, so that dude's just having a terrible debut in professional wrestling. But it just goes to show he is a master manipulator now, and he is in Trey Miguel's head. I think they two are going to be having a match on Saturday, but this one's far better because we have had loads of build. And what a great time it must have been for Sam, the rookie, the trainee. I bet he had the time of his life. But of course, if this was any other scenario, I would give it up. But damn it, I'm fighting back against people that hack into my show, so I'm giving it a very pathetic down. And that's just to wind Sami Callihan up, but at the moment, I don't think he's around here, so I have the power. Basically, He-Man. It was at this point where Jake Something, as we talked about earlier, returned to Impact and said to James Storm and Chris Sabin he will help them out on Saturday. I was like, something seems off about this. I don't think we're going to turn Jake Something, because that would be ridiculous. He's on a bit of a tear. But there was just something, so I'm saying it in case I'm right. We had our weekly AEW commercial next, and yes, they did reference the botched explosion at Revolution, or at least they're doubling down on the fact that Kenny Omega tried to make a bomb, and he absolutely flubbed it up. They also mentioned that the pay-per-view had one of their best buy rates ever, and that's always nice to hear. The more people paying for and watching wrestling is better for wrestling as a whole, and I hope it happens for Impact, I hope it happens for WWE, I hope it happens at AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan. Let's just see wrestling go that way, which is up to the sky. We had a contract signing next, although this one was in the back as opposed to being in the ring, so you know what to expect, and it was more than okay. This was getting us ready for the match between Finn Juice and the Good Brothers, and Scott D'Amore was back and he was like, hey, just sign the contract and we can go have a good time. But because these four have become children, they were like, let's not worry about pieces of paper, and instead, let's try and outdrink each other. It really wasn't what anybody wanted. They did indeed drink shots until they went so crazy that they put pen to paper and then started beating each other up. But look, I like Finn Juice, I like the Good Brothers. The match on Saturday, I think it's Saturday, will be pretty damn good. How could it not be? So it's fine by me. It was then time for yet another match that had been made in that stupid Johnny Swingers casino, because we were having Chris Bey taking on Ace Austin. And I will apologize to Johnny Swinger at this point, because thank goodness this did get made it was excellent. Following the template for a lot of matches these days, we started with technical wrestling and mat-based wrestling and chain wrestling before somebody went, no, I want to start flying amongst the clouds, so we started getting a bunch of crazy aerial moves. I mean, the Fosbury flop thing that Ace Austin did, this was like Ray Phoenix levels of nutsness. He just dove and he flew and he went. Chris Bey then went full I've mastered this video game and was able to reverse and transition every single move was coming his way, and before long they were fighting on the top rope when both of them spilled off to the floor, and that looked like it sucked. We also had a great near fall off a vertebrae, and honestly I thought that was it, and at this stage Man Fulton pretended he was going to do something until TJP walked out on top of the ramp and he just sat down in a chair. And this was to lure Fulton away, which did happen, but that just meant back in the ring, Ace Austin got hit with the art finesse that he got out of once, but he wasn't able to get out of it twice. 1, 2, 3, Chris Bey just beat Ace Austin, so now surely you're gonna have to do a triple threat for the X Division Championship. And Madman Fulton ran out after this like, oh no. I was like, well, what did you think was going to happen? Why weren't you keeping your eyes on the prize? Still, this was really, really good, and both guys are really, really good. Very excited to see what their future holds. We were then in the casino afterwards, and as we've already made clear, only weird things happen here. Because Josh Alexander was accusing TJP of not taking Ace Austin seriously, and I kind of opened my book like, I don't remember him never taking him seriously, and said that it doesn't matter, because after TJP is done with Chris Bey and after TJP is done with Austin, he's gonna have to face Josh Alexander again. And I'm actually all right with that. I think Josh Alexander right now is really good, and the more we can spotlight him, well, that's what we should do. Get a spotlight and shine it in his stupid face. His face is not stupid. I don't know why I said that. I really like Josh Alexander. ODB then squashed Suzanne, every time I tell you, who I think was actually just more interested in doing her taxes. This was a mauling though, although I do get it. We need to build ODB to make you think maybe, just maybe, she can beat Deonna Purrazzo for the title at Sacrifice. But look, it didn't really work 100%, because I just don't think that's what's going to happen. Otherwise, this was fine, and it built to a big angle, so up. The final straw was when Suzanne had got rid of ODB's alcohol, so she was like, nah, bruh, that's not happening. So she gave her the Samoan drop, and then the locker room doors opened, because everybody and their nan was here. Because we had the tag champs, we had Jordynne Grace, we had Jazz, we had Kimberly, we had Deonna Purrazzo, and it ended with the bad guy standing tall, which did make me go, wait a minute, I predicted that no championships are going to change hands, and yet here the villains are doing that thing that they usually do when they lose. It was actually very well booked by Impact, because it brought me the intrigue that I needed. Also, I don't mind big rucks. I never mind a big rucks. Sometimes people go, there's too many post-match brawls. I like them every single time, because I'm an idiot. All of this was building up for a huge announcement to end the show, though, and Impact Wrestling didn't let us down. Because days after a bomb not going off properly, we were told that yes, at Sacrifice we will get that World Championship match between Moose and Rich Swann, but whoever wins that then goes on to have a winner-takes-all match against Kenny Omega at the pay-per-view in April. Now I know your initial response will be like, what, why, what the hell happened? But who cares? Who doesn't want this? Kenny Omega and Don Callis' plan is now taking the step up to the next level, and you saw them at the end here with Don Callis being like, I'm the hand, I'm pulling everything together, and we're gonna win all the gold. I assume Kenny does win that, and then what's next? Does he go to New Japan? You just never know. I regret how I did that. Like some kind of amateur actor during a murder mystery. This was a great ending though, we got everybody talking, and I also don't mind what I get. Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann will just be badass, but Kenny Omega versus Moose has a really interesting twist. Also, Moose has been brilliant recently, so I'm ready. Somebody plug me in. And so yeah, I thought Impact did a decent job in getting me ready for Sacrifice, which we of course will up and down on Sunday, but for this particular program, I'm gonna give it an up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's show. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. It's right there, smiling at you and giving you a wink. Head over to WhatCulture.com where you can read about wrestling. Click a video around my head right now to stay on the channel, and we're on social media. Go give us a follow. My name is Simon WhatCulture. Thank you for watching me as always, and I'll see you throughout the week.